All right, hello, welcome to the Burn KC ScorchCast. I'm your host Alex Blackburn here to bring you the good KC sports news. We have to stop meeting up like this. These are supposed to be weekly. These are supposed to be on a weekly basis. It's been 2 weeks since my last ScorchCast. My sincerest apologies. I really do try to keep these on a weekly basis, but it has been a very, very, very busy couple of weeks. Obviously, holidays like Father's Day, July 4th, all those different days where I just don't have the time and or energy to record these. Been dealing with a lot of that, but also I kind of did a thing this past week. I kind of went to a certain city in Nevada for a certain event regarding a certain conference that we will go over when we go over college football. But we got more news than that to cover. We've got we've got Royals baseball, we've got soccer, we've got some Blues news, some Chiefs news, and the whole thing, to be honest with you, because it's been 2 weeks and there's been a lot of sports news. So there's a lot to go over. I will try and keep it concise though. I do have a little bit of an announcement at the end of this that you will have to stay tuned for. But for now, strap in, sit tight, and enjoy the show. All right. Now, let's get into some CFB, some college football. Let's start with the big kahuna, I should say, because this one is going to be my longest segment by far, for good reason. You'll soon see if you've been living under a rock and not following my content, which I hope you have. I really hope you have. But we'll get into that. First and foremost, the battle for Lincoln Cure is over. The Kansas State Wildcats are the winners of the Lincoln Cure sweepstakes. They nab their first ever 5-star prospect in 2025 tight end Lincoln Cure from Goodland, Kansas. Cure will be joining the Wildcats next year. He's a big kid when you watch his film. Great receiver, has great hands, can block pretty well. And overall just kind of looks like a men amongst boys out there in good old Goodland, which is what a lot of people are kind of questioning is like, is he a true 5-star or is he a Goodland 5-star? I will tell you right now, he is a true 5-star. If you watch his film, if you see his stats, he's a good football player. So I don't want to say excited because obviously I am a Kansas Jayhawk through and through. But I'm glad that Lincoln chose to stay in state. I know he had offers from Texas A&M, from Oregon, and my Jayhawks. Breaks my heart that he didn't follow his brother. But it is what it is. It can't be helped. But I'm very glad that he stayed home. He's going to be a force when he gets on the campus. So very exciting news. However, that is not the elephant in the room. You've been following my college football dogs work, which I sincerely hope you have. Then you know that I've been to Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was a blast, but also very informational, chock full of good stories, good headlines, and good people. I got to network with a lot of the industry of the Big 12 conference, and it was very, very fulfilling. So, and I'm happy to know quite a few people. Now, I am kind of gonna go over those different storylines here. Um, and kind of go off script for this because I feel like that is the best way to describe Big 12 Media Days. And, if you don't get your fill, I did a couple of interviews with the Golden Boot podcast as well as Sports Bites podcast. Go check them out. Ran by my good friends, Chris Joseph for Sports Bites, and obviously Vandy Chris and Cody Slavinsky, as well as George Hancock over at the Golden Boot. So go check them out as well. Give them a follow, give them a like. But overall, this experience was incredible. I really can't put into words how amazing it was to attend my first ever media days. Uh, it was awesome to get credentialed. It was awesome to, you know, kind of go over the itinerary and just kind of have that anticipation. But actually getting there and getting to experience media days, getting to experience Las Vegas, Nevada for the first time as well was awesome. Got to see the strip, got to see all the different casinos. Didn't gamble because I am actually not much of a gambler, believe it or not. But got to see the casinos, got to see the sights, and then media days. You know, it is the home of the Raiders, Allegiant Stadium, but they put on a good show there. They do. And being on that field where the Super Bowl was played 5 months ago is unreal. I mean, it was such a surreal experience. Um, but to the actual like meat and potatoes and media days, uh, I got to interview Lance Leipold. I got to ask Deion Sanders a couple of questions. I got to ask the players questions during press conferences and team breakouts. Uh, the Big 12 is going to be competitive top to bottom this year. It is. There is a lot of teams that could easily make a run at the Big 12 title. And just kind of talking with these people that were there, there's a great sense of anticipation. And not just because of the on the field product, which is going to bring a ton of fireworks. Like I said, the Big 12 is going to be incredibly competitive this year. There's at least 7 teams that could easily go out and win the whole thing out of the 16, but there's as many as 9 that could legitimately do it, and probably more too, because even at the bottom of the conference, you've got teams that have signs of promise, like Cincinnati, like Houston, that could easily find their stride, could easily have a stroke of luck or two, and be right in that mix. But you saw that sense of anticipation because of what Commissioner Brett Yormark said regarding the future of the Big 12, which, if you've been keeping up with Big 12 news, if you've been keeping up with conference realignment and the spider web that is, you know that the Big 12 kind of looked in danger there for a while. It's not the first time that's happened. If you remember, back in early 2010s, when Missouri, when Texas A&M, when Nebraska, Colorado, all of them left, you were kind of left with a husk of what the Big 12 once was. But then the Big 12 added teams like West Virginia, TCU, um, and I feel like a couple others. I can't remember just off the top of my head. Um, but they added, these teams that performed really well at the Group of 5 level and moved them up. and they're excelling even now. I think TCU made the national championship in 2022. And now you have a Big 12 that has added Utah, has added Arizona for more basketball power, has added Arizona State, has added Colorado, the media powder keg that they are. And all these Pac-12 holdovers, it's going to be a great conference for a long time. That's 16 teams. Yeah, Oklahoma and Texas left, but from top to bottom, this conference is stronger than it's ever been, I think. Now that you don't have Oklahoma and Texas in your ear saying that it's not, saying, oh, this is a terrible conference. I want out. I want out. Oh, I want things done my way, which is what happened. I mean, for a long time, there was that division between Oklahoma and Texas and everybody else because football has that kind of draw. And now that they're gone, and now that you have this parity in football from top to bottom, the Big 12 has a great shot of iron sharpening iron. And I'm excited. I am. And now, with the recent news of Clemson and Florida State, as well as multiple other ACC programs not being very happy with the ACC, we could see further growth. There's been major rumors about this further growth from multiple media pundits and multiple conference insiders, both from the ACC and the Big 12. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for this conference, because frankly speaking, it's Power 4 right now, but it may be Power 3 in the next couple of years. We'll have to see what the fate of the ACC brings. And given the fact that the Big Ten said no to Florida State joining up and Clemson, there's an opportunity for the Big 12. And yeah, I know that there's a lot that goes into that, but with the way that Brett Yormark talked about the Big 12 at media days, which obviously, he's a commissioner, so he's not going to badmouth his own conference, but I saw a promise for change, and I saw great potential in this conference. So I am excited to see what the future of the Big 12 holds, not only in football, but in the rest of the sports as well. I mean, obviously, you have Arizona and Kansas, which is going to be absolute fireworks in basketball and potentially even in football too here in the next couple of years. Both are up and coming programs in football right now. So, I mean, the Big 12 has a chance to put on for some major TV, and that's what it's all about these days is that TV revenue. So, be on the lookout, be cognizant of what's to come, because the Big 12, and I hate using a Coach Prime euphemism. He's a lot nicer in person, I will say that. After meeting him a little bit and getting a chance to talk with him a little bit, he's a lot nicer in person, but still just the things that he said. I mean, but to use a Coach Prime euphemism, Big 12's coming. We come. Anyways, let's talk about soccer. I feel like I have talked about Big 12 media days more than I've talked about literally anything else over this past week. So let's talk about soccer. If you want to know more, go check out my other interviews with the Golden Boot and Sports Bites. They are up on their respective pages, obviously, but also my pages as well. So go check them out. You won't regret it. Those are good, fulfilling interviews ran by good people. So let's talk about soccer. Righty. Let's talk about some soccer news, shall we? The Current suffered their first loss to the Orlando Pride, the team that they were battling out for first place with on top of the NWSL table. It was an unfortunate game, and I'm sure one that the Current wish they could have back. They lost 2-1 after the Pride earned a red card for Carrie Lawrence's actions. If you've seen the video of the Pride celebrating this win, you'd think they won the NWSL altogether. That's how much a win over this team means, I guess. I mean, I can see why they call y'all the Pride now, I suppose. Let's, I don't mean to like tone police or do anything like that, but I mean, honestly, like, let's act like we've been there before. I mean, that was an embarrassing post game, I feel like. And I get competition, I get how it can make you feel things as a former athlete myself. But I mean, come on, man. Come on. Like that was ridiculous, especially from like veteran players like Marta was on that team. Marta has been playing soccer for how long now? I mean, I remember her playing in the Women's World Cup back in like 2010 or around that time. So, I mean, just act like you've been there before. You got one more game against the Current, and that's a game that will likely count for a bit more, and you might have two more depending on how things go during the postseason. So, I mean, that was a pretty embarrassing way to kind of, I guess, handle yourself. Overall, it wasn't a bad loss for the Current. I mean, it's their first loss of the season, but that is one that I think the KC Current will remember for a long time, given the, I guess, sting, the bad taste that it'll leave for the Current, especially given that that was the last game before the Olympic break. Because now you got the Olympic break and you don't have a game until August 14th. And I don't know who Memlodi Sundowners are, but there's still going to be that built up aggression, I'm sure. September 13th is going to be an interesting game. Let's just say that. That's the next time that the Current play the Pride. But no matter. Current are still second place on the table here. Chingwa is still battling it out for the Golden Boot. So it's not too bad. It wasn't too bad of a loss. It just stings because of how the Pride acted after the game. And I'm sure that's going to be motivation for when the Current go to Orlando to play them. So we'll see how September 13th plays out, shall we, Pride? Anyway, in terms of Sporting KC, believe it or not, they are still, I guess, relevant. They're not out of gas yet. the The club beat FC Dallas 2-1 in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinals to advance to the semis with goals from Agata and Rosero. Rosero would end up scoring that game-winning goal in the 111th minute, and it would send the boys, the other boys in blue, I should say. We'll talk about the OG boys in blue later. To the U.S. Open Cup semis. Yet another one for Peter Vermees. I tell you, he's kind of a merchant when it comes to these U.S. Open Cups. He tends to perform really well. I'm not sure, depending on how the rest of the season goes, that will save his job, but we'll see. The Sporting KC also beat the San Jose Earthquakes earlier this week in the regular season, further bolstering their confidence and their record as well as their form. It might be a little late to make a playoff push, though. There are only 10 games left in the regular season, and Sporting KC is still 12th in the Western Conference. They essentially need to win out to have any chance at all. And if you remember last year, they went on that historic run where they won a whole bunch of games in a row and ended up getting into the playoffs. I don't think they really got the gas to do that again. And I definitely think they're on the outside looking in here. It's unfortunate, but you can't win them all. And maybe this is the straw that breaks the camel's back for Sporting KC's administration to fire Peter Vermees. We'll see. I'm not necessarily sure he's the whole problem. I think there's a few more issues that will need to be fixed, possibly by a coaching change, possibly not. But overall, Peter Vermees' job is in jeopardy. And I know how loved he is in KC because he's a title-winning coach. But at this point in KC sports, kind of use the titles, especially from Sporting. Like, Sporting has been our best sports team up until obviously the Mahomes era Chiefs for a while. And now it's like they're kind of our worst, especially now that the Royals are up and coming. So it might be time to give Vermees the axe. I guess we'll see. But now on to the Royals, where we have some All-Star weekend business to talk about. So let's get into that. All right, let's get into some Royals news. The Royals entered the All-Star break 7 games above 500. You heard that right. 7 games above 500 for the Kansas City Royals in 2024 at the All-Star break. However, something feels disappointing. So they opened up July in a skid with series losses to the Rockies and the Rays. 2 teams that you had to have series wins over. They're both losing record teams that the Royals should have easily beaten, especially the Rockies. I don't think the Rockies, I think the Rockies are like the 3rd worst team in baseball right now. You have to beat them in a series. The confidence booster, though, at least the slight one, came after you swept the Cardinals in the I-70 series. That was awesome. We haven't done that in a long time. So, having the Royals do that is great. And I hope they can do it again because the Cardinals are also a bad baseball team this year. You then go into a series, though, where it is crucial that you get at least 2 wins. You at least take this series against the Red Sox, who are at that point at the beginning of the series half a game above you in the wild card race. This is before the All-Star break, mind you. This game or this series was incredibly crucial. And you win in it with the utmost confidence. You beat the brakes off of them that first game. The offense was clicking, the pitching was mowing people down. It was a great game from the Royals. Then you drop the next two, though, in fairly embarrassing fashion. You lost 5-4 in the series finale, which wasn't bad, but a 5-0 rout is not exactly the best way to go into that second game. I think you got a little cocky. And now you trail the Rockies by 2 games. Or not the Rockies, the Red Sox, my apologies. It kind of hurts, This being said, there's still plenty of time before October. The Royals need to perform really well second half of the season. It is the most important second half of the season the Royals have had since 2015. So there needs to be a marquee performance. There needs to be marquee performance after marquee performance. this second half of the season. And I think you got a major confidence boost from how you performed at the All-Star game. First off, huge performance by Bobby Witt Jr. in the home run derby. Huge performance. A Kansas City Royal made the home run derby final. I think that's a first, is it not? A first since at least like George Brett. Maybe Salvi or Mike Sweeney. What was he ever a part of the home run derby? I honestly can't remember if a Royal has ever been a part of the home run derby final. Not that I can recollect. That being said, he didn't win. He came literal inches away from winning, though, because he had the tying home run fall like 10 inches short of the wall. I remember watching that and him getting that bonus out, and I was like, he's won. This is it. But then he reached for that third out, and I was like, oh no, not like this. And I thought he hit that tying home run, and he didn't. But credit to Bobby Witt Jr. That was an amazing performance. You made Teoscar Hernandez sweat. Los Angeles Dodger, mind you, Teoscar Hernandez, the team with the highest payroll in the MLB, aside from, I think the Yankees. I think the Yankees have a higher one, but it's always those two. You made him sweat, and you gave him a run for his money, and man, Bobby Witt Jr. is such a good baseball player. If you have not gotten a chance to watch him live, it's so impressive. He is a great baseball player, and I'm very happy that he plays for Kansas City. We have two just absolute phenoms leading our sports teams, or our two main sports teams right now. And I don't necessarily mean main in like the current and Sporting KC and our college sports aren't that important. They are, but I mean, when you think of Kansas City, you think of the Chiefs and the Royals. But secondly, I digress. I apologize. Secondly, the All Star game itself proved that the Royals do have just solid talent across the board. Lugo and Reagans looked really good. Reagans is maintaining a 0.0 ERA in the All Star game. So that's good. That's pretty good, I would say. Bobby Witt Jr. made some great plays, and Salvador Perez made his presence known as the best catcher in baseball. And and yes, I do wholeheartedly believe that he is better than Adley Rushman. Adley Rushman is young. Salvador is a seasoned vet, and I think he is a shoo-in for the MLB Hall of Fame. A shoo-in for the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Overall, so this All-Star game weekend was the best All-Star game weekend since 2015 for the Royals, and will continue, I hope, to provide a major boost as we enter crunch time in the MLB season. Because it is crunch time. As I reiterated time and again at the beginning of this segment, Royals got to win games. And, you don't want to depend on the help when September rolls around and you're still 2 games back. So, Royals got to win games. They got to flex their muscle, and they got to show that they are a playoff baseball team. Because I think they know that they are. They just got to find that consistency. Anyways, let's go into some minor news. We'll wrap up here. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a ride, and I'm happy to be back. So thank you for that. We're going to get into some minor news. I got a short message for you, and then we will wrap up. So stay tuned. All right, last segment here before we wrap up, going over some minor news. In Blues news, the Blues finish out 7th season, just missing out on the national qualifier. They finish 6th on the table, needing to finish top 4 for the Midwest Championship in order to send them to the national tournament. The boys will go into fall season, starting with the first official team meeting on July 31st. Unfortunate, but that's just the way the donkey dances sometimes. Fall season should be good. Got a lot of promise and a lot of great players coming in for that fall season. So good luck to the boys. In college basketball news, Johnny Furphy would end up going to the Indiana Pacers in the NBA draft, where he's performing really well in Summer League with his last game scoring 18 points, 4 rebounds, and netting 4 threes, being his best effort thus far. Kevin McCullough, now with the Knicks, though, is currently still dealing with that knee injury that he had at the end of the season for Kansas last year. And could miss the Summer League series altogether. That is incredibly unfortunate news. I hope he does get his shot. He deserves it. He's got NBA caliber talent. It's just a matter of staying healthy, and it's a matter of staying consistent. So I'm hoping that he can eventually get there. Finally, though, Parker Brown is playing with his brother Christian in Denver for the time being. He just signed on with Denver's Summer League roster and will try to make the actual roster here with his summer league performance and potential performance going forward. So we'll see. Uh, in Chiefs news, the Chiefs have just arrived at training camp where big things are expected. There's already talks of a three-peat, which if Patrick Mahomes is trying to match children with Super Bowl rings, it could be a sign of things to come because Patrick and Brittany are pregnant with their third child. Yeah, that's three children. Which, if that is the case with matching up children with Super Bowl rings, uh, Patrick might be going for Philip Rivers' record, though. Um, I know Patrick did say that his third child, though, will be his last. So if he is like trying to line up Super Bowl rings with children, I hope that trend does not continue after this year. Um, I mean, unless Patrick Mahomes just wants more kids for accidents, I don't know. Wouldn't it be crazy if like he just couldn't stop having children every time he won a Super Bowl? That'd be crazy. Anyways, back to football matters. The Chiefs are expected to have a full roster at camp with no notable holdouts or new injuries aside from the ones that were sustained late last year. So Charles Omenihu, Joe Thuney, all with those pre-existing conditions. Those guys do look to be on track to be healthy, though, by the start of the season. So you hope to see that. I'm really fingers crossed because Omenihu was great. Joe Thuney, obviously an all-pro guard. So really hoping that they can end up being healthy by the start of the season. That is our show, though. Thank you so much for watching. I will for sure have a ScorchCast next week. Again, my apologies for not having one up for a while. In addition to, and this is my announcement essentially, in addition to being very busy with Big 12 Media Days, with holidays, etc., I kind of, I've kind of been thinking about it, and I'm likely only going to write for the Burn when a big story drops for KC Sports, or just like a story I feel like can go up onto the Burn comes up, which likely means that, you know, something is not going to go up onto the Burn writing wise unless, from me, unless it is something large that doesn't have to do with college football, and you know, maybe even pro football too. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing with pro football as of now, given I am likely going to be the guy for the Chiefs for college football dogs as well. Again, that remains to be seen. We're kind of working those kinks out as we speak. I'm not at liberty to kind of discuss the inner workings of college football dogs at the moment. But overall, you're probably going to be seeing a lot less. I mean, you've already seen a lot less writing from the Burn, um, on the Burn website, I should say. And there's obvious reasons for that. My workload just is quite a bit right now. So from here on, the Burn is going to mainly be a podcast, much less it's going to be a podcast essentially, and I will still write when I can, but just know that the writing is probably going to take a pretty big back burner. Now, To make up for that, because I have a way of making up for this, and I know that there's probably a little bit of disappointment, and for that I apologize, but it's just too much of a workload. To make up for that, though, I plan on turning the Burn KC's writing columns and writing categories, I should say, rather, into forums for you guys to put your opinions up, to put your burning questions up on, and for me to write on occasionally. That is what I plan on doing. I'm going to work out the kinks a little bit and get back with you in regards to what exactly that's going to look like going forward, but expect something to be put out on that in the next couple of weeks. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. I hope you guys can understand. I hope that you are hopeful for the future of this site. This is a learning experience for me. This is self-started. This is grassroots. This is an adjustment. This is kind of just going with the flow because I don't get paid to do this. I have no ads on any of my product that I create myself, not for college football dogs. And this is kind of just a labor of love. It's a passion project. And eventually, maybe it will turn into something. Maybe the podcast will turn into something more. But for now, this is a passion project that I do, for the love of the game. And I appreciate you guys listening, reading, enjoying my content. It's been an amazing ride so far, and that ride has not stopped. And the burn ain't dead, like I said, but the burn's going through changes. So, again, I hope you're hopeful for them. I hope you participate passionately and with your best takes on KC sports once it does turn into a forum, once it does turn into a community. I've long since said that the burn is a community, and I think we're going to be embracing that more, that community mindset more with what's to come. So I'm really excited for it. I hope you'll join me. And, like I said, ScorchCasts are not going away. They'll still be once a week. I promise they'll be once a week. And yeah, just stick with me. Thank you for bearing with me to this point. And I'm excited for what's to come. But that's our show. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great night. Stay tuned. And as always, burn it down. Thank you very much.